Max Dowman, what have we just seen? Boggy pitch, FA Cup 5th round tie away from home, lower league opposition, all digging in, all playing above themselves 110%, nipping at your heels, kicking you, pushing you out the way, trying to get the upper hand. And what did that 16-year-old do? Danced around them in the middle of the park. Wow. Thank you for coming back to us on the channel. I am the Rational Gooner, and this is the review of Mansfield versus Arsenal, a game which ended 2-1 to the away side, to the Premier League side, and Arsenal advanced through to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, and we're in the hat for that draw, which takes place on Monday the 9th of March. That's it, job done. We can put our feet up for the rest of the weekend and enjoy the other 7 ties in the 5th round, starting with Wrexham at home to Chelsea this afternoon for UK viewers. It will still be the morning for me as the build-up happens, and it will be lunchtime by the time it kicks off. And then later on, it's Newcastle against Man City. Let's watch them slug it out. Hopefully City have to play a few first-teamers, get a little bit tired, and then they move on to Real Madrid next week as we travel to Leverkusen. So, where do we start? Let's go through the team that started the game. I was a little bit off with my prediction, but I was pleased to see that Marley Salmon did start, but not at right back. The way we shaped up at the start of the game suggested a kind of a 3-1-4-1-1 or a 3-1-4-2 with Kai Havertz playing just off Gabriel Jesus in front of a midfield that across from left to right was Gabriel Martinelli, Trossard, Christian Norgard, Max Dowman and Noni Madueke. That's a midfield with pretty much 4 wingers playing in front of Christian Norgard, who sat in front of a back 3 of Marley Salmon and Ricardo Calafiore either side of Christian Mosquera. That interchanged quite a bit as the game progressed, and we had to pivot a little bit after the 38th minute when Leandro Trossard had to come off, and hopefully that injury he's picked up is only a knock, and he's available for selection in the week for the Champions League game. But they sort of interchanged, so it started with a back 3, but that was when we were attacking. Once we lost the ball, Christian Norgard sort of sat in next to Mosquera with Arsenal's midfielders kind of compact and pressing inwards. And as soon as we won the ball, you could see Madueke and Martinelli splitting away from Trossard and Dowman. But every time Dowman got the ball, he was looking up, he was trying to find a pass. If he didn't have one, he would just turn around, look back, or maybe even take him on. And the way he dribbles the ball, it's like he's gliding past players. Mark my words, that surface was a very difficult surface to pass the ball on and to dribble on. And for a 16-year-old to come up against some real seasoned professional lower league players, these guys have got experience. You're talking players like Tyler Roberts, who's played for Wales. He's got caps, you know. He went to the Euros with Wales recently. You got players like Oates, who played out of his skin today. Evans, just a really decent Mansfield side. And you obviously got to be careful with Lewis Reed. You saw what he did with his free kick in the previous round against Burnley. So they made a real fist of it, Mansfield, and in the first half they played quite well. You were always going to have that kind of up for it mentality. It's a one-off game for them. It is in essence their cup final, and it's in front of their own fans. They look very good. When they got the ball, they tried to use it. They tried to be positive and go forward with it. There wasn't too many long balls from them, but they were playing a few forward. But they found out quite quickly that Mosquera and Calafiore were eating them up. What they did in the end was try to exploit our 16-year-old centre-back, Marley Salmon. More on that in a bit. But in the first half, I felt Arsenal were quite comfortable. We didn't look like we were going to concede a goal. Rarely troubled. with Kepa in goal as well, you do feel comfortable when he's there, because when a cross comes in, he's very confident. His handling's world class, and he did his job with no fuss. So let's talk about the goal. We went in at half-time 1-0 up, and that goal was scored by Madueke. A little bit of good play on the left-hand side involving Norgard and Dowman, and when the ball came to Noni Madueke, he hit it with such venom and vigour. I still can't work out whether it was deflected before it actually got to the goalkeeper, but it seemed to be behind Liam Roberts before he even managed to get over to it with his dive. It was a class finish. Reminded me of Calafiore's goal at Manchester City last season, the way that it curled away from the keeper into the top right-hand corner with the left foot. Excellent finish. Just what we needed. Not a set piece, so most Arsenal fans will be disappointed with that, because we love how we wind up the rest of the footballing community every time a set piece gets scored, but we'll take it. It was a brilliant finish. Got in at half-time at 1-0. Comfortable, but Mansfield were playing well, and they were more than a match for us. And I have to say, when they came out in that second half, after the half-time team talks, you felt like Nigel Clough had really gotten into his players there and said, look, you're never going to be in this position again, or you're very unlikely to be in this position again, playing against this type of opposition. This is your opportunity to take this game either to extra time, or you can really knock Arsenal out. There are two 16-year-olds on that pitch. Only two players that started the Brighton game actually started the game against Mansfield. That would be Christian Mosquera and Martinelli. Otherwise, Arsenal had changed 9 players from that game. So there is a chance to get at them with a team that's not gelled from the last game, that's not learned those lessons from the last game to then take into the next one and build from that foundation. And having a deep squad like we do, it's a great opportunity for other players to have their game time, to get their minutes, to show Arteta that they're actually reliable if called upon for bigger games. And there are going to be bigger games. Let's not sugarcoat it. Mansfield Town are in the bottom half of League One. They're trying to battle to stay in League One this season. So they have bigger priorities as well. But this was their cup final. This was their day out. And I felt like they took that opportunity. By the end of that game, I don't think that they came off that pitch bringing anything off that pitch with them. They left everything out there, and full credit to them, because they were fantastic. It was a passionate and a throwback FA Cup tie from years yonder. It was a real FA Cup game today, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So let's revisit how the game started in the second half. Mansfield actually made a change at half-time. They brought on the goal scorer, actually, Will Evans, for Tyler Roberts. And within 5 minutes of him being introduced, they scored. And it all came from a defensive error and a little bit of a naive pass across the back line from, again, a 16-year-old player, Marley Salmon. You expect these types of mistakes from these players, but you also expect your senior players to pick them back up again. I also don't think he was entirely to blame for the goal, because although his pass blindly played towards Mosquera was not good enough and it was intercepted, there was still quite a lot of pitch between Evans and our goal. So he still had a lot to do once he'd got that ball, and I do feel like Mosquera could have closed him down better. Once he got into that position to shoot, it was a good strike. It was low, it was hard, and to be fair, I think Kepa might be a bit disappointed because it was close to him. However, because of the way he struck the ball, it was so true that, it was past the keeper before he could do anything about it. So 1-1. The crowd then get pumped up. The players then get a lift, and Mansfield then start to play football, and Arsenal had to ride out and suffer for a good 10-15 minute period in that second half. We've had those types of spells before in games against teams of so-called lesser nature. I think we had to ride out quite the storm against Portsmouth in a previous round at Fratton Park. it's the fans will get on top of you and they'll start to dictate some of the decisions that are made on the pitch, whether it be from Mansfield or from Arsenal. They went all out and they really, really put us under pressure. They had a couple of chances that really you expect a goalkeeper of Kepa's quality to deal with, and he did without fuss. Other than that, we then started to dictate it again. I think once it got to about 60 minutes and there wasn't another Mansfield goal, they had to then settle down, because you can't go full tilt, especially against a team with Arsenal's fitness levels. It's very difficult to maintain that pace throughout an entire half. So then they had to sit off. It was then time for Arsenal to then dictate the game again. It was Arsenal to then knock the ball around, get those possession stats back up, and we had a few chances before the goal. Max Dowman again, he danced through that team. He had a very good chance to score in the first half, but again in the second half he got himself through, and he really should have shot himself, but he tried to play in Jesus with a ball across the box, and unfortunately it didn't work out. But wow, what a talent that kid is. What a talent. And I mean, if I was a supporter of another side, I feel like how if I was a supporter of another side, another team than Arsenal, and I watched Max Dowman play, I would feel the exact same way that I feel as an Arsenal fan when I watched Wayne Rooney emerge, or when I saw Michael Owen for the first time playing for Liverpool. I'd think, oh my God, I wish that player was in my team. Now we've got one of those players, because Max Dowman is at his age, at 16, being kind of, there are certain quarters of Arsenal fans pressuring Arteta to play him more. I know he's been injured recently, but they've been saying, give him more minutes. I'd say, no, let's protect him. Give him some time to adjust to men's football, because he's throughout his youth career, so to speak, he's always played for the older age group. So when he was 12, he was playing for the under-15s, and when he was 13, he went into the under-16s. Now he's 16 years old and he's in the senior, the men's first team, He hasn't even signed a professional contract yet. He's still under a youth contract because of his age. He's still at school. Stop putting Arteta under pressure, or stop pressuring the kid to play more minutes. He'll get there. He will get those minutes, but you have to protect him. It's very difficult to manage a kid that age when he's not fully developed yet. And I think Arteta's right to kind of hold him back a little bit, take stock. You don't want to burn out these kids at a young age. We're seeing with Saka now, we had to play him when he was 18. And now we're having to manage his minutes now that he's getting to his mid-20s, because he's suffering from that type of burnout where he's overused as a youngster when he's still developing. Anyway, he is a special talent. I could go on for a very long time talking about Max Dowman, because, he is and has that potential to be the next big England star. And it's great to see him in an Arsenal shirt, and it's great to see that he's part of an Arsenal family. His mum and his dad, big Arsenal fans. He's where he wants to be, he's where he belongs, and hopefully he can contribute to us winning a lot of silverware in the future. Let's talk about Arsenal's second then. Some really good work on the edge of the box from Norgard for this goal. He turned the defender very well, and it opened up the play and drew the challenge. He played in Eze. Eze took a couple of touches out of his feet. There was I can't remember, but there was a run from one of Arsenal's strike. I think it might have been Jesus, took a defender away, which created that space for Eze to run into with the ball, and just inside the area unleash an absolute bullet past Liam Roberts. I don't think Roberts had any chance of saving that because of the way that it was struck, the close quarters it was, and the accuracy, because it was top right, it was top bins. It wasn't quite all the way in the corner like Declan Rice's second free kick against Real Madrid was, but it was an absolute bullet and an arrow, and it fired in. And from then on, we controlled and dictated the game. It was, I think it got to about 80, 81 minutes when you started to see the Mansfield players were tiring. They made a few substitutions. I think Arteta deserves a bit of praise for noticing a few little weaknesses, bringing off Marley Salmon, shoring up that defence with him, Capier, and also bringing on Eze at the time that he did, because bringing off Havertz was a good idea. Hooking him early in that second half really meant that we can wrap him up in cotton wool for the Leverkusen game and possibly a League Cup final coming up. We need Havertz to be available for those games. So bringing him off was a good idea. Bringing on Eze, and then within a few minutes of Eze coming on, we go 2-1 up. And we kill the game dead. Then to be honest, we didn't need to kill the game dead, and we didn't particularly do that. There was some expansive football after the goal, and we had a few chances to kill it off. Martinelli notably had a chance, and Madueke as well. He had a few chances. I think there was one strike that he hit that ended up going out for a throw-in. So. His in front of goal today, he was hit and miss, but all of his other play today, Madueke, he had a really decent game. Overall then, I think Arteta should be happy with that. We're into the hat for the next round. Again, it's one of those games where the goals don't matter. How you get through doesn't matter. It just matters that you're in the hat for the next round. And we're in the draw on Monday. That's all that matters. But in saying that, it was a fantastic FA Cup game. We've started to see these lower league teams getting through to these later rounds and really showing the romance and the passion of the FA Cup again. And it's great to see. Really good to see. As somebody that likes to look at the positive side of football, I've always been a big fan of the FA Cup. I've always loved seeing the underdog come out on top in some games, but over the years, a lot of the FA Cup has become predictable. There are still those moments that we all kind of look back on, and hopefully there's one a little bit later on today when Wrexham take on Chelsea at the Racecourse Ground, and I'll be watching that. It should be quite a fun game to see, because I'm sure there'll be a few Hollywood stars in the executive boxes with Mr. Reynolds and McElhenney, or however you can pronounce that name. But the FA Cup's always been the pinnacle tournament for English football. The preliminary rounds start as early as July. The hundreds of teams start off in the FA Cup qualifiers, and it all goes down to one match at Wembley in May between two teams that have got through those rounds. So it's still, in my opinion, the greatest domestic competition in the world. It's the oldest, so it should be the greatest. It's got the biggest prestige. And guess who's won it the most times? 14 times, in fact. We're hoping for number 15 come May this year. Well, that's it from me. Thank you very much for listening, and remember to hit that like and subscribe button so that I can really build this page up, really build this channel up, and keep this content going. I will be back with a preview for the Leverkusen game, as well as a next top 10, and it will be left backs this time. I might be doing that later today. It depends on how busy I am. But apart from that, I hope you have a great weekend, and I will be with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.